Okay, this is gonna be somewhat more of an impromptu video. This is gonna be the first part of two videos I think I will have made. I'm recording this after the second part since I was questioning how to get it sorted, but in some way short of what I'll be talking about in this video and the following one is just how I'm not having fun with AirMech right now or playing it, not too bored. Like for the past 2 weeks for sure, I have not played the game. And like before then I wasn't playing that many games, maybe just the one at least to try and get the daily win. And then maybe a handful more if there was someone in queue that I was like just play a couple rounds with, or if anyone asks for custom matches. But I really haven't been enjoying playing AirMech recently too much. Like I think it's more due to just thinking about AirMech, like how the gameplay works. Is I don't like watching it. Like it's I would rather show it like when I go spectate games. I just see units keep being used the same way, just tanks. If you ever like seen what I usually talk about for like the past couple of years, there's always a lingering hatred if you follow what I say. A lingering hatred for tanks. I don't like how tank dominant AirMech is. Like the most dominant tank, the unit that you could do the most with, that you could just win the game purely off of using it well, is tanks. They have good stats. They have the best mech ability of mechs. The mechs you can carry is 4 infantry soldiers that cost like 600 credits. You put 4 in your mech, that's 24,000, 2,400 credits value of units that you're carrying around. Now do tanks. At the start of the game, Striker for example, can carry 2 Longhorns, 12,000 credits worth of units. That's like 6 times more, 6 times the value of units I'm carrying with tanks. That's a general comparison. You could do that with like even vehicles too. Later on, like I think at the start of the match, you can only carry 3 Jackals, 9,000 value of credits of units, compared to tanks at the start, 2 Longhorns. More value of units that you can carry on the mech. It's easier to control, especially if I like with unit control that's very dependent on the mech. Like units themselves can't stop them from killing themselves, like when they drive by. Best example, what I mentioned is attack move. Like Bucky/shooters, they have what veterans would call shooter AI. They will stop once an enemy unit comes into their attack range. They won't just keep pushing forward and suicide in, run into a ton more units that'll kill them. They'll instead like set at their max range at least and keep moving. If there's nothing in range, if something comes in range, they'll stop, fire, and shoot at it. That gives more allows the units can better act on their own without like suiciding in. They suicide in, you lose the units, you lose the value, because you can't control the units versus like any other RTS where they do have that attack move option, or even target fire where they won't like suicide in and keep moving. If you play an RTS which doesn't have attack move and doesn't have target fire, you're not gonna enjoy. I don't think you'd enjoy like the unit control in that game, in that type of game, if it was like a pure classical RTS which didn't have target fire or attack. That's what I'm saying. I don't think the appearance would be that well, and I think it's just better to show off. Like I got some random replays that I grabbed from that were replay submissions. Let's see if I can get their names. This is random. I haven't checked them out myself. Copy the replay name. Oh, and some more word on me being active. I don't see myself being active right now, or like what I was before I stopped completely playing for the past 2 weeks. Like before the past 2 weeks, and even though I played a bit, I didn't think I was that active. If I was active, I'd be actually encouraging people to or like trying to get games together to play on my custom maps, because I think that's potentially another way to see more variety in AirMech and probably bring more interest for me personally into watching or playing the game if different things happen. But I don't like how like all the current maps everyone builds. I mean the general way, like most games, big clump of tanks or wall of tanks, and then they just sit there for like most of the match time. Most of your units could be sitting on hold position for 30 minutes if the game goes on that long. They could be sitting there, just sitting there, not moving. Just mostly tanks do. Dumb, very dumb. You're not playing all turrets, and you use tanks because even tanks trade and are more effective than just going pure turrets. And then sometimes their ability to move is useful. So let's go check out some random replays to show it off. Replay, and we copy paste the replay name. What is this? It's Biohazard on a map I don't like, and it'll mostly show this off. Play it on 5 times speed. I don't want to watch it. I'm not casting this game. Just gonna do it to show it off. I'm not gonna focus the mech. Credit to all the casters who are able to do that. I'll mention that quick. Casters, the current casters, RUI, Astro Boy. Credit to AirMech Casters. They focus on what's interesting in the game. The mechs, the player, the thing that's actually controlled by the player, the mechs. When they focus on that, you'll avoid looking at the units. But the thing that makes me most bored when I'm playing or think about AirMech is watching the units. The units don't do anything in this game. They just sit there. There's a whole ton of value in units. Most of your army, that's your entire army. One half of the game is mechs, the other half is unit and army management and control. And for much of that unit control, they're just sitting there because that's the best thing. This game's been out for, what is it? It's 2021, and it went into beta December 2012. That's 8 years. 8 years. 8 years people have been playing this. And the best they can come up with, use mostly tanks. And those tanks mostly sit there. Build up a big army of them. Once you have critical mass, you can move out and crush your opponent with positioning and taking advantage of more tanks beats less tanks, more units beats less units, more better army value beats less army value. Now let's show it off. Continue. Yeah, RUI and Astro Boy. Check them out. Check them out if you want actual entertaining AirMech casts. Oh, that's what I wanted to mention about how I've always casted. Like I made these casts intentionally bad. I've always wanted it to be like an anti-cast example of how you should not cast AirMech, because this will make it look super boring. I've always tried to do that. Make it like analyze and be boring. That's how I wanted my cast to be. I modeled it off Dominator from Command & Conquer General 0 Hour. His 0 Hour casting, it's different from shout casting of other games like StarCraft 2. That type of shout casting where they hype up a lot of like major engagements that keep the viewer interested in like every single move, and that they make anything the players do interesting. Credit to them. Very entertaining industry in esports is for I personally right now I watch Command & Conquer casts, StarCraft casts, Age of Empire 2 casts. That's interesting. I like watching those RTS because there's a lot of things that they do for the units that are interesting, and the build orders matter. Unit control, micromanagement, a lot of different things, specific strategy choices, and unit army building, upgrade, anything to spend credits on. It's much more in depth than what AirMech has. Although AirMech, of course, half the name, mech. Part of it's the mechs, but the other part of gameplay is units. I already mentioned that before. Yeah. Casting, I've done, like, if you cut out the bad stuff, if you didn't think it was bad, my preferred casting method was slow and analytical. Like, all the major moves, make sure you point out the major moves and mistakes. Point out mistakes that could be done better, or kind of point out things that are being done well, that are specifically winning you the game, that'll get to the win condition of take out at least half the map of outposts. If you pass the halfway point of outpost count, you have more credits, you have more income, you have more unit upkeep, unit cap. In any other game, you sit constantly for a long period of time, uncontested or unable to be kicked off. If you're continually in a position of higher income or higher unit cap, in combination of higher unit cap, how do you lose? How do you lose without making a mistake? Unless perhaps upgrade path or tech path that doesn't really exist in AirMech. Maybe loadouts, you could compare that to, but no, not really. Most of the level lock units in AirMech, those are upgrade units in my opinion. Goliath is a straight upgrade to Longhorn. Similar idea of Buster. Buster is in between Longhorn and Goliath. Buster is a better Longhorn, but Goliath can still world beat Buster since it's a better tank. Alright, time to start playing this again and start showing it off. 5 times speed. Come on, quickly go off. You go doing your normal. Do your normal. Yep, doing your normal openings. Just tanks. Armadillos and longhorns. Congratulations, just tanks. Someone dies there. Looks like they're doing a side push, side rush. And looks like Blue failed that. Threw it away. Okay. 5 times speed. And minimap, watch the minimap. These units were doing nothing for a long period of time. This unit is still doing nothing. This unit doing nothing. Tanks are being formed. Tank lines are being formed. There's the tank line for blue being formed. Red took this corner. Congratulations, you got the corner. Red should be in a winning position. It's up to blue to come back. Red can stall this out and just use their higher income, higher upkeep cap. You push that advantage. Blue doing that. Blue's getting pushed back. Oh, this is a clear. This is a quick game, but just clearly showing like just tanks. They went from Longhorn and Armadillo into Busters now. Busters for TPS, then Turtle just for flat high HP and armor stat. Still sedimentary gameplay. They're not even using the ability for the units to move themselves. Very rarely. They're on the Goliaths now. You'll see that often in a lot of AirMech games. And I don't want to watch the rest of this game. Too boring. It's just tanks. Tank control. Get out of that. Then for another random game. Alright, we'll get that. Slash replay. Replay this. And what is it? Oh, it's on duel now. It's on duel. We'll see the same stuff. 5 times speed again. Both teams gonna shoot out this outpost. Okay, have fun. Come on. There we go. It newts. And players, tanks, armadillos. Tanks, armadillos. Armadillos. They're doing a push. I'm gonna rush. They lost some armadillos there. Red has been more careful. They have a higher tank count. Yep, tank be tank. Just tanks. These armies just sitting here. This army slowly shifted, not because the units moved themselves, but because the mechs move the units. They're like turrets. Mechs move these tanks that can move by themselves like turrets. They pick them up, move them to new positions. That's better to control them that way. Because if you let the units move on themselves, they're probably going to get themselves killed. That's the way. After 8 years of AirMech existing, that's the way you play AirMech. It's the best way, the smartest way. Because if you let units move by themselves, they're going to get themselves killed. So you have to use AirMech and leapfrog them slowly. Red still has a unit line because that's the best thing they can do right now. If Carbon pushes, they can kill other units because the units moving on their own are done. And we have another wall. Wall of units. Wall of tanks and tank support. Mostly tank. Carbon slowly pushing. And they do a cheese here. Is it working out? Yeah, looks like it's working out for them. There's still this unit line. This Carbon unit line just moved up a couple inches. Absolutely massacred Red's units. And now it's like it's just capitalizing off this cheese, which Carbon should have been looking out for. They had mid. And how do you lose from that position? It's called you make a mistake. You lose from a winning position by making a mistake on your end. And now Carbon also took that outpost, and now we're in a weird rush position. Yep, just do that. Tanks are good enough where we just do that. See, it's better to leave the tanks sitting on hold position, out of range. They're not rushing in and dying. A lot of turrets and just, yeah, too many gaddies there. Not enough units to kill that. Carbon takes that. Alright, buddy. Tanks still. Everyone's still on tanks. That's the EUs in AirMech. There's 84 units. 84 units. 84 units. No, I'll mention that in the next video where there's 84 units. But you see, just tanks. There's 84 units that you could select and use in this game, but everyone's still using tanks. Carbon took that back. Congratulations. But still just tanks. Red's on Goliath now. Congratulations. They upgraded their tanks. Tanks. God, Red fail in this. Yep, just tanks. I've been still using tanks though. And I still haven't seen anything special. The only next unit diversity you might see is when someone reaches level 9, Devastator. That's still another tank. And when you still got that chance to pull out. Wait a minute, Red team show that they have Buckies. Red team has Buckies. Put Buckies. Put buckies. Put buckies. Put buckies. If you clear this out, doesn't cost that much to throw a couple buckies to reclaim this part. Red retook this outpost maybe? Nope, Carbon has it set up there. But Red showed that they did have Bucky earlier, but they're not using it, but whatever. Just gotta stick to using tanks. Because they could seriously still win off of tanks. If they push all this and Carbon doesn't respond, Red has more tanks, would beat up Carbon's tanks. But still, these units just sitting here, doing nothing. Units here, doing nothing. Doing nothing. It's because they're better off doing nothing here, because they don't die. If this was on capture, it'd run in and kill itself. If these were on attack 4, they'd go and run in, and then Carbon could drop units and kill them. Then Red would be behind. You'd be behind if you move out your units. So Red and Carbon, another unit line here. Carbon unit line here, Red unit line. And whatever. A lot of units just sitting around doing nothing. Half the game is units, and units that can move are sitting like turrets. Right now, only the actual units that aren't moving are attacking each other. Congratulations. You have units that move, but the only units attacking are the ones that don't move. Riveting. I'm just gonna watch this. This is AirMech. This is AirMech without the mechs. This is AirMech without the mechs. Oh, they moved a little bit. I'm gonna sit here and watch it. I know there's a battle going on in mid, but I'm just gonna sit here and watch this. Oh, yeah, I predicted the Devastator. The Devastator come out. Unit revive. Yeah, a unit that kills tanks too was a silo, and now they're pushing that. Trying to rush it down. They didn't have all their tanks, and that might. Oh, I see. We counted here. Tanks. And incredible. Tanks won the game. Tanks were also what could stop them from losing the game. Whatever. Mostly tanks in this game. Congratulations. Now for the next replay. These are blind. I didn't watch these before. I don't know what's going to go on in them. Let's replay. And we're going to see a lot of tanks again. Romania versus Mechanic. Air Mechanic. Put on 5 times speed. I don't want to watch the match. Judging by his paladin, he might do vehicle macro. And Romania will always do normal tank. Well, looks like he's just going to do tank. Yep, everyone's still on tank. Tank. 84 units that you can choose from in this game. I mean, 84 units that exist in this game. Like 70 you could choose from and put in your loadout. But whatever, they're on a tank, they're in a tank mirror. 8 years of this game existing. These units being used for their ability to not get themselves killed. You see that? With attack move, these units were able to collect their neutrals without dying. Now if you sent these, like the, what was it, 4 Buckies? So 2 Longhorns, same value, same upkeep and credit value, sent those on capture, they would have run in and got themselves killed at this outpost. Because they're too stupid. Unit control is very dumb in AirMech. There's not really much freedom you have with your units. It's very tethered on your mech babysitting them. Super uninteresting. And now we have a very silly unit line. These tanks just looking at each other, doing nothing. We look at them for a moment. They're doing nothing. Oh, they're dropping unit. Just gonna try and kill it, and Red just pulls back from it since his units are doing nothing, while Romania has a couple units that outrange and can actually do. And we have another random unit come up here. Fun to watch. Riveting gameplay. Riveting unit control. Half the game is mechs, the other half is units, and these units are just sitting here. Even though half of them can move, they're just sitting there like they're turrets. Because it's better to use them as mobile turrets, because they won't get themselves killed when out on order. Riveting. I know he's pushing down there, but we're going to watch him start doing nothing. Yep, these units doing nothing are being better. Yeah. At these blue units, Romania wasn't even controlling, and they killed all the red. He beats that push, and now he's behind. What's he gonna do? Yep. You can do that. And it's just tanks still. These units sitting doing nothing. Very cool. And then we just have a tank circle chip. Tank v tank. Yep. More tanks beats less tanks. And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. And that's a lot of tanks. A lot of tanks. game. I'm gonna see more tanks, I'm pretty sure. And these are the cream of the crop, the creme de la crop of replays. These came from the replay submission forums. So people thought these replays were notable, and the most noteworthy thing I'm seeing is no replays, just tanks. And a lot of tanks that people are building just sitting there on the map doing nothing. Sitting there on the map doing nothing, because it's the best thing for them to be doing. Because they're not getting themselves killed. And if the opponent decides to do anything with their units, like push in or on a order without moving on capture an outpost without critical mass, they're just gonna die. Then they're gonna lose the game because of that. Because then when they try to get their units to do something for themselves, they're gonna get themselves killed, and then you lose the game because of it. Alright, so Lord of Lords was a Romania on Storm. Another map where intentionally it was designed for build tanks, and they just sit there doing nothing as your mech babysits them and moves them around a bit. Alright, Longhorn and Armadillo tanks. Armadillo. I'm abducted a T-45. He didn't build that T-45, he's still just building tanks. Alright. Let me mine up there. Tanks, tanks, tanks. He built AA just in case. Gets that T99, whatever uses that. Rush, this is very cool. Just tanks still, literally just tanks. Now, Lord of Lords is on Busters now. That's a upgrade to Longhorn. Romania is still an Armadillo, which is still a tank. Of course, Lord of Lords is behind since he got this outpost looted, and now he can just camp that. And then Romania is being pushed back. That's a good position for shooters because they're able to shoot and neutralize that outpost. That's an important thing. If you can counter neutralize an outpost of your opponent like that, then you're just gonna try and drop. Lord of Lords doesn't have anything to kill butchers or trade it well against them. He's just building tanks, and he isn't being super punished. Just one gaddy. One gaddy's all you need, and then that will stop the punishment for just building purely tank. Yep, just one gaddy, all you need to stop the punishment for going mono tank. Romania's still in mono tank. It's perfectly fine. It's the right way to go on it. Yep, which is these units. Romania's, Lord of Lords, and Romania's have been sitting now. Now they're actually using the ability to move for once. Lord of Lords is just sitting there. It's 8 minutes into the game, and we've only seen Romania move his Armadillos twice in total. First, it was move the Dillos to go to this outpost once, and then now it's to move around this area for a second time. Lord of Lords dies here. That might be the main reason why he loses his control of this, but it looks like Romania's able to push that back, but now it's lost mid, and he's very, very, very dominant upkeep. And Lord of Lords is on much higher tank count, so we'll have much better, Romania's just trying to go for a cheese. Yeah, Romania's just hoping for a cheese right now. Everything is like more neutral and needless. That's a lot of tanks. Alright. Is that all the replays I grabbed? Alright, let's finally get a watch tab them. What does Carbon System think is a good game? Oh, there's pawns right now. Yeah, that's an unfair match. I'll go Smurfs versus some actual players. Another decent matchup. We'll watch this. Let's count the tanks. Let's count the tanks. Let's see how much tanks there are and how many tanks are gonna sit there and do nothing. Very, very cool. 5 times speed. I don't want to watch this game. Oh god, it's long. If it's buffering like this, go, go, go. I don't want to watch. We're here to watch tanks just sit on the map doing nothing. 5 times speed. Both teams shooting the outpost. Very cool. Tanks, Longhorn, and Saucer abducting. Longhorn and Armadillo, just tanks still. Quality unit comp. There's 84 units in the game. 70 you can choose and put in your loadout. And right now players are mostly using tanks and playing around using tanks. Just a few units in the game that you're dedicating the entire roster of units to. These tanks, the Buckies didn't even support that much in that engagement, just all tank. They got cheesed a bit. And that distracted them, and now red is on a much higher tank count than carbon. Carbon's like on 0 tanks. Why thank you. Why thank you, game, for thinking this was a noteworthy game of saving. It's just a tank. No. Here comes our fun little unit line appearing again, where units that can move are just sitting here doing nothing. Just sitting here, not dying. See if these pushes pushed in, these units will counter kill them. If these units are pushed in, these pushes will sit and kill them if they pushed in one at a time. If they're pushed in with their the orders you get in AirMech. It's better to leave your units sitting around like turrets because they won't die. If they're on an order, they will die and get themselves by getting themselves killed because they're brain dead. They don't have attack move to safely approach by themselves. They use AirMech to babysit them to keep them safe. There's a suicide push, doesn't it all go too well? Yep, dies, wasted credits. Tanks here, not very much. Red could actually just push in and kill them right now, possibly, but who knows? They might have more tanks in their queue ready to pull out, but we don't know. And we're slowly seeing units with ability to move on themselves slowly be picked up and moved by the mechs, since the units themselves can't move themselves because it's too tricky to do that. Carbon throwing more units and slowly losing their tank count. God, can this go any faster? You're slowly seeing red units move by the mechs just picking them up and sending them down slowly. You're not seeing units actually being controlled themselves. So many units doing something you're doing nothing, because that's the right thing to do in AirMech. 8 years, 8 years, 8 years. And people have figured out using tanks is the best, because they're least likely to get killed, and it is most valuable to easier to micro around your mech and get value out of the units. Vehicles have less range and less overall damage outputs. Looks like they got a cheese because they had the mid. They could afford the income and unit upkeep to spend on cheesing this, and it's carbon. It's Red's game to lose. Carbon has very little chance to coming back. They shouldn't, in fact. Good God, they have like clearly a higher unit tank count. They could just push in by themselves and win this, but since they have some wonky turtle and bertha positioning, they wait for deficit. Congratulations. We're seeing more tanks. Please, in AirMech, valuable units are tanks, or units that support tanks. And that in general means they don't move that much. A clump of them, and they're not moving. Red's finally moving out, but it took how many minutes? Like 5 minutes? 5 minutes of the game for them to afford up this higher army, and it's just much better tanks, just absolutely outclassing these weaker tanks. That's the end. Just a whole ton of tanks. Killing the floor. Very cool. Very fun to watch. Interesting gameplay. Good job. Good luck making an esport off of this type of gameplay. Oh, we got a strike crate. Oh, I leveled up too. Thank you. Thank you, AirMech. Should I try 1v1? No, I don't wanna. Let's do this 2v2 then. This is another good one. I don't think there's another good one. Another biohazard. Let's go. Let's just see these tanks just sitting and doing nothing. 5 times speed again. Alright. Alright. Tanks. Carbon tanks versus red tanks. Oh, they did both do silly tricks for this. So they're just gonna trick the side posts. Or could. Red had a better response. And it's probably gonna be similar to that other biohazard game we watched, where it's both corners grabbed, and since you have more income and more unit cap, you just win off of that. Any other RTS without that kind of situation, you should win, because you would have more income and more unit cap. That's a bigger army that develops faster. How are you supposed to lose in that type of position without any unique tech or strategy to build off of? 2 times the outpost count. 4 outposts versus 2. Why should Carbon win? And we're still going to see tank line form. Tank line. Tanks sitting waiting, tanks sitting and waiting. If Carbon wants to drop or push into the side, they have a ton of tanks to fight. Good luck. And Red has their own massive tank line forming. Very cool. Slowly moving forward. Units that can move are better with slowly moving with your mech up a couple inches instead of actually having the unit move themselves. See that? That was good mech position. Or rather, mech repositioning that unit. That one buster killed the enemy buster. If it was on a attack forward or capture outpost command, it would move and get itself killed. A unit moving by itself after it's given an order by mech probably is gonna die. It's a dumb way to control a unit, and that's why no one does it that way. Unless it has an attack move like Bucky or Shooter, or it isn't brain dead and gets itself killed. And we're seeing the slow movement of Red. Slowly moving inch by inch, and I'm on 5 times speed behind you. Every 5 seconds in game is 1 second in real life, and we're slowly seeing Red have a slow concave of tanks moving forward across the map. Super boring to watch. Credit to the casters who focus on the mechs and on what's actually interesting to focus on. And that's it for that match. A lot of tanks, mostly tanks, slow movement up, riveting gameplay. Make an esport off of that, I dare you. And that should sum up my dissatisfaction right now with playing mech. I don't like the gameplay, don't like watching it or thinking about it. Gameplay, super boring, super basic, nothing interesting's happening. Big clump of tanks, 8 years. 8 years, this game has been playable. And it is very clearly decided by competitive PvP players that you need to use tanks. And I see the reason to use tanks is because good stats, they could work well with mech. And that's what you care about, because unit control is absolute garbage in this game. There's no unit autonomy is basically non-existent. You have to babysit your units all the time if you want to get value out of them. Few units like Bucky and Shooter have attack move on them, where they won't actually get themselves killed by moving them somewhere, or like get themselves killed really fast, you know? We had, I think in the official Discord, there was a discussion about if AirMech had a attack move in the game. It didn't go too much far, but gameplay shades, yada yada yada. I think more unit control. That would include attack move, possibly target fire. I don't know. It's up to the developers what they want to put in the game, but I think more unit control or better ability to control the units would improve the experience of the game. Right now, unit control, from what I see, you can't really do much with the units. That's why people are mostly building a ton of tanks, and those ton of tanks just sit there on the map doing nothing. Because doing nothing is smarter and better, gets more done than making your units do something on their own. Because if you give them a capture outpost or attack forward command, they're just gonna roll in and get themselves killed. Versus if you move every unit yourself with the mech, using hold position, slowly move them inch by inch, slowly gain ground that way. That's the smart way. Super slow. I showed you 5 times speed, and you saw how slowly unit lines of tanks were moving. Quality gameplay, riveting, very fun to watch. And that should be my AirMech rant, the first part. I'll show the second part where I mentioned 84 units. Well, 84 units that can interact in the game, and cut out like 5 of those. Around 70 units you can stick in a loadout. Yeah, you're only seeing tanks. I'll show up the Discord video. The other part's just gonna be a Discord video of me going through screenshots of people winning games, and I'm just gonna point out all the tanks I see in the background of the score screen of these screenshots. It's gonna be really fun to watch. Alright, that should be it. See you in the next part, I guess.